Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am so excited to welcome our next guest. You might know her as simply Manders on Instagram. That is how I know her. It's how we're going to refer to her. Manders, you are here. You've been here through my whole CrossFit journey, but you have so much going on, and I can't wait to talk more about you and what you've been up to. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm great. It's the holiday season, so chaos, but we thrive in that.
That's so real.
I love your glasses. They're great. You're in the middle of living in boxes before your big move to Cali, I imagine.
Yeah, this is the first time that anyone will know that I'm moving to California, so this is exciting. Like nobody knows that. Well, just because like it was just decided. But yeah, so just having the next 3 weeks to pack up my entire life, no worries. Yeah, so I'm actually super excited about it.
Was this your first time going to California, or had you been there for vacation before, or what was that like?
Yeah, I have been there a couple of times. That was my fourth time, and I just had never explored like much. I went to San Francisco, but I never went a little bit more north of San Francisco. And when I was leaving the Midwest, I was like, I want to go back to a coast because I lived in Florida for 20 years, and I
Mm.
was like, I want to go back to a coast, but like I don't want to go back to Florida at all. I did not enjoy living there, like least favorite place. So I was like, well, I really want to go to California, but at the time I was completely by myself and I was going 100% alone. So I was like, I can't really afford that by myself. So I picked the East Coast because like this is kind of the same vibe, right? Like North Carolina is like you have 2 hours east of the beach, but then like 2 hours west, you can go to the mountains. And then like there's a lot of things that we have and we get all the seasons. And that was kind of what I was wanting because after living in Iowa, which was also miserable, I was like, okay, no more snow, no more Midwest. So that was my options. And then I ended up picking North Carolina because it just made sense at the time. And so like this upcoming lease renewal, was assuming it was for a whole nother year because I thought I signed 2 year. And then when they were like, hey, your lease is ending January 1st, I was like, what? I was like, come again? And so I had to make a decision. And, this is definitely like, I was not expecting this at all. And I like, if you would have told me last year, like, oh, you're going to move to California, I'd be like, yeah, right. But it definitely has always been something I wanted to do. And so it just kind of worked out in this way. And I'm just going to kind of roll with it and just try it out and see if I like it. So I'm excited.
What part of Cali is it?
So it's like 45 minutes north of San Francisco. I think they
Oh,
still
pretty.
consider that like the Bay Area. I don't know the lingo. I'm not a but some people from Cali are going to be like,
You're gonna
what is
learn quick.
yeah, so I don't know much about like the other parts of California, just like where I had visited before. And I didn't love South California. Like I went to the LA area. I definitely
Mhm.
did not see myself living there. But the north part it's beautiful by the bay. So I was like, I loved it. Like I see why people want to live there.
It's so interesting because I haven't had a ton of travels out to California, but this past year before Wadapalooza SoCal,
Mm,
I stayed with one of my friends and we drove like the coast from Santa Cruz all the way down. And it truly feels like a different part of the world from Northern California to Southern because I relate in the fact that like the LA vibe wasn't really my cup of tea, but
yeah.
Northern California, it's totally different.
It's so beautiful. And I didn't really like know what it had to offer, which is why I wanted to go out there and see everything before, like deciding, okay, this is what we want to do. And it just worked out so perfectly. And like the day of the place so we had like some ideas in mind. We also were considering Sacramento and like there's just like
Mhm.
all these other things that we were just not sure of, different states, different places. It was so many options. And it's just, I guess that's the cool thing is like when you have a job that you do from home, you kind of can go anywhere. And I just think that like I'm very, very blessed in that sense. So like for me, I wanted to pick something that I always wanted, but just never had like the courage to try. So that was kind of how I
Yeah.
picked that. And plus when I went there, I loved it. So I was like, sold.
Easy sell. The hardest part's gonna be the driving cross country, but everything
100%.
else is gonna be great.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I could teleport there, I would.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that with two gigantic dogs. It's going to be, I've done it once before, but it was from Iowa to North Carolina. So it's like not quite the same distance, but I've done it before, so I can do it again.
You talk about the perk of, working a remote job. You don't need to be specific to any location. So for people who maybe are new to the channel or new and don't know who Manders is, she's a certified nutritionist with Black Iron Nutrition, a strength and conditioning coach. She's been working in the CrossFit space for over a decade. And my favorite thing, and I'm so curious on what you think about the word, but you're an influencer. But in the last 5 to 10 years, I feel like that word it can mean a lot of different things. Did
Yeah.
you ever think that that would be part of your job description?
No, because I also still, like, to this day, I don't really consider that my job. I think it's, like, something that I do because of what my job is. I
Mhm.
don't know if that really makes sense, but, like, I don't think that, my full-time job is an influencer. Like, I don't like to think of it that way, mostly just because that's not really number 1, where I earn my income, but it's also not really what I like to do, to be honest with you. Like, I don't enjoy influencing in any way, shape, or form. It's funny because like
You've influenced me over the years.
like
I'll let you know that.
I think there's different like different sections.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, like, when I first started, I was like a diehard YouTuber. Like, that was my OG platform was YouTube. This is before Instagram was even like a thing. I was on YouTube.
Mhm.
And like, I just loved watching the vlogs of the world, the Casey Neistats, people who like vlogged for their life. And so that's where I started before influencing was a term or a thing or anything. And I just reviewed things on my own. Like, there was no brand deals, there was no commissions, there was no anything. It was just
Yeah.
like, I bought this and I'm going to tell you what I think about it. And then people, I think, like, it just started turning into a thing that people could do for a career. And so, like, I think that I just, because I did it before it was a career, I never like look at it as my income or my career. Like, I still buy things to this day and I'll say, like, I bought this with my own money. Like, this is not sponsored. I'm just telling you this friggin' sucks or whatever it is. And so, or I love it, whatever. So I try to, like you said, I try to stay true to that because I feel like that's where I started. And so, like, I want people to always trust my recommendations and know that I'm not just like being paid to say that something's good.
But I think you've done a really good job about that, because I would even say that of all the people that I've followed on social media, you have always seemed over the years the most authentic, true to yourself. We get the good, the bad, the ugly, and there is really a almost like a real life balance that I can see you portraying through your content, whether it is your YouTube channel or Instagram. Do you feel like that's something that you've had to work hard on? Because I'm sure there is a balance of, okay, how much do I want to share to these people that I don't know?
Yeah, 100%. I think, like, in the beginning, before I grew a lot of following, I think I shared a lot more because I just like had a smaller circle and it really didn't like impact me too much. And then obviously, like, over time, I saw the negative effects of that with social media and like people being mean and all those other things that come along with it. And I think that kind of deterred me from sharing as much. But like, it's still really hard to separate it for me to this day. Welcome. Okay.
The stars of the show.
Of course. Hang on. Oh, thank you so much for joining. Okay. You can join with me.
Oh, yes.
She said hello. I have my cow. I just think
I
it's
love
been
her.
really hard for me to separate it over time because I'm more authentic, I would say. I don't mean to say that in like a selfish way or whatnot, but like, I just feel like I always talk about what's actually going on with me, and I don't try to like upkeep this fake influencer persona. So it is
Mhm.
really hard for me to do both because I feel like that my life outside of social media impacts my social media and vice versa. So it's really hard for me.
Is there a video, or do you remember the time that like your channels really started to take off?
Um, I don't think so. I think it's really been a slow burn for the last 10 years, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I never had like a viral moment. I never had like a bunch of followers at once. I think it's just kind of like slow emphasis on the slowly
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
grown
And
over time.
consistently slow. Like, you
Yeah.
never gave up. You kept posting content.
I have been trying to get 100,000 subscribers on YouTube for 10 years. Okay. Because I won't buy
What are
them.
you
And
at
people
right now?
97,000.
Oh, so close.
So close. And I keep saying that. I keep like every time I'm like, don't forget to subscribe because I want that plaque so bad and I'm gonna get
Yeah.
it. I'm so determined. So yeah, I definitely think that like over time though, it's been a little bit more difficult as of recently, just because of like the short form videos.
Mhm.
Like TikTok obviously is super in, and people just like don't like to sit down and watch long term videos like they used to. I think that's my opinion, but
No, I think that that's true, that people are so quick to scroll and move to the next thing, and
yeah,
I feel like I relate where I enjoy consuming longer form content because that's the type of content that I also like creating because I feel like it gives a bigger picture.
yeah.
What are some of the like ebbs and flows that you've had to like change with your content over the years to stay relevant but also stay true to yourself?
I think sharing like my journey has been the underlying like main thing that I do, because since starting CrossFit in 2014, so it like literally has been an entire 10 years of CrossFit
Mhm.
and then like changing into different forms of fitness or like competing in Olympic lifting and things like that. So I think that like I never really tried to shift my content purposely. I think it was just like the way that my life progressed, like between CrossFit, Olympic lifting, boxing, stuff like that. So it just like naturally allowed it to change. And I think that's why like people maybe feel a little bit more connected to my channel in particular, because it's more of like a friend, like you're seeing them go through different things and changing lives, instead of like, certain people's channels are like reviews only or like beauty
Mhm.
tutorials only. And I just don't feel like I've ever really fit into that. I think that it's been like a wide variety of things.
Do you have a type that you enjoy creating the most and you really want to lean into more?
I think vlogs, but that's just because that's where I started. Like my heart is always with vlogs. I love a good vlog. I love like the editing. I love doing drone shots. I love just
Yeah.
like things like that. So I vlogs are always going to be my favorite.
When do you remember the first time that you ever picked up a camera?
Um, yes, and it was a GoPro, like a little teeny
Oh,
tiny GoPro.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Was it
I don't even know what I was doing with it, to be honest with you. I don't know. Yeah.
That's so funny because I'm trying to think of the first time that I had a GoPro, and I think it was for a very specific reason, like around the holidays or something. We wanted to use it underwater
Yeah.
or
Yeah, yeah, we used underwater too. I think that was like the main
something like that.
selling point of the GoPro back then.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy to think like how far GoPros and even drones and all of that kind of stuff has come. Like for
I
me,
know.
I cannot even believe the amount of money that I've spent on like bigger, nice cameras, lenses. But the camera that I actually use the most now, do you have the Osmo Pocket 3? Have you seen
No,
that?
but everyone has it. I know. I know.
And it's annoying that everybody has it, but this thing, I'm telling you, I never use anything else now because it's
Really
just so small and easy, and the
easy.
quality is really good.
I know. I've seen some people's vlogs with them, and I'm like, damn, that's pretty good for a little pocket camera.
Right, one that you can really just fit in your pocket or your
No,
purse, but
literally, it's so great. I think that's such an awesome way to create content.
yeah. Um, you mentioned boxing in there. You actually also are like a strength and conditioning coach for the boxing gym you go to?
Yes, yeah. When I first
How did
joined,
that all happen?
yeah. So I was having a really hard time when I first came here. I found a CrossFit gym like immediately, and that's where I met Cody. Which, like, if anyone follows me, they probably also know Cody, who was like in my videos all the time. He is so funny and just like so extra, and I loved my CrossFit experience with him. Like, we had so much fun. We did competitions, video. I mean, it was just like I loved it. And then he moved to Florida, and I was so depressed when he left me because like I didn't really have like a BFF here in CrossFit
Mhm.
space like I did when I was in Florida. And that can really like make or break your experience, honestly. Like I feel like the community aspect. And so when he left, I just like really struggled with the community of CrossFit, and find like I just didn't like the gym I was at, and it was like whatever. So I was like, okay, I want to try something different. Like I just want to completely change my fitness and just try something different. So I was looking at what I could do, and I joined this boxing gym just to try it. And then I ended up really liking the class, liking the coach. And I was like, they had a whole like gym section in the CrossFit gym. I mean, in the boxing gym. And I was like, I had asked the owner a couple weeks after I joined, I'm like, hey, do you do like strength training here? And he's like, no, not really. Like we used to, but we don't anymore because we haven't found a strength trainer, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hi. I was like, hello, I can help. Yeah, exactly. And I just felt like a lot of the boxers that were competing, they weren't like prioritizing their strength as much as they could be and using it to their advantage. And like it's in the facility, so why not, you know? So I just kind of like pitched it to him like, hey, you know, you should do a strength and conditioning class that's specific for boxing and I'll coach it. And he was like, sold. And I was like, okay, great. So yeah, I've been
Wow.
doing that for the last year and I love it. I love it so much.
What originally made you like out of all the different types of fitness you can do, why boxing?
I have always had this, this is so funny and embarrassing to admit, but I have always had this like deep desire to be in a fist fight. I don't know why. I don't know. I know. I ever laugh, I tell them this, but like I just hope
I
that
love
one
it.
day like somebody tries me. I don't know. I don't know why. And so I was like, well, I might as well learn how to fight, you know, like
Just
and
in
I
case.
I tried jujitsu because everyone said that too. And I was like asking for suggestions,
Yeah.
didn't like that at all. I don't want to roll around the floor with sweaty men. I just don't want to do it.
Mm.
So I was like, that's not it for me. So it's just like too close, you know. And boxing is a sport like where you can do it by yourself as well. Like if I go to train, I can hit the bags, I can do footwork. Whereas like jujitsu, you kind of need someone else there.
Mhm.
So it's not my thing. And yeah, and so I was like, okay, I might as well learn how to fight if that's what I keep saying. I'm hoping someone clocks me in the head one day so I can fight. So that's how literally that's how I chose boxing.
Would you ever sign up to do like I don't even know if they have like local tournaments
Right, yeah.
for yeah.
I would love to for sure. I'm gonna try to reestablish myself in the boxing space when I get out to California because there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of opportunities there. So I think like once I get a new home gym and figure out like a training, you want to for sure be training for like a solid year even before doing a local competition. So I definitely would want to like wait, but something I want to at least do once, I think.
Wow.
Yeah,
But
it's so funny.
until then, we'll see if somebody tries to fist fight
Oh,
you.
literally, I don't even know, like, I don't know, I just, like, wanna know if I would be able to, like, hold my own if someone tried to randomly fight me. I don't know why, I've always wondered that.
I mean, there's something to that though, because for me, I feel like if you really break down the reason why people should be a fast runner, like, okay, strip down, it has nothing to do with athletic ability. It has nothing to do with, I want to like be a good athlete. It's okay, can I run away from somebody if they try to abduct me? And my answer is always going to be no, I'm never going to be fast enough to outrun somebody, but I might be stronger than them to like do a little I don't
Yeah,
know, but maybe now I need to go take boxing to really refine those
refine
skills.
it and learn, like, I've learned, like, where, you know, hurts people the most to, like, punch them or how to, like, defend against certain things, so I think it's been really beneficial.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's such a funny reason why I chose boxing, and it was kind of just like a ha, but then I actually really liked it, and because I had such a strong strength foundation, it benefited me so well because like a lot of boxers, especially in what would be my weight class, are super, super, super teeny, like lean beans, fast, like just skinny, you know, because like they have to be fast and quick on their feet. Too much muscle can be a problem, but luckily because I'm not on steroids, I'm not massive, so I kind of like fit like right into that like medium, like muscly, you know. I just think that that helps a ton because people automatically like when I've talk to other girls, like they're always like, "Oh, I'm not sparring you. I'm scared of you." And I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "You're so like big." And that's funny because like to me, I don't feel big because like I look at
Yeah,
like the CrossFit athletes of the world, and I'm like, I'm not big, I'm
100%.
small, you know. But like to other people, they think I'm muscular, so I'm like, hell yeah, I'll use that to my advantage.
Yeah, it's interesting because it really probably depends like who is your point of reference and if you're thinking of CrossFit athletes and like their average body composition and size is different than the traditional sparrers or runners or
Oh yeah, they're
anything
super
like that.
thin. Hmm.
Kind of speaking to that, something that I've always appreciated about you is the like before and after, like this year I took this photo 5 years ago and now this is me and the muscle mass that I've put on over 5 years and just the transparency that you've had around like body image and whether it's gaining weight, leaning out, putting on muscle. Uh, Being in the space of health and nutrition, have you seen a shift in the last 10 years of people being more open-minded to like what is the definition of beauty and being comfortable in your own skin?
Yeah, totally. I think that becoming more muscular as women is definitely more socially acceptable than it was. But I think that 10 years ago, though, what was considered like big, even in CrossFit, is maybe half the size of what it is now. So even though the accepting mindsets have been shifting, I think like the overall viewpoint of what people consider to be muscular or whatever in CrossFit or anywhere is just like getting more and more and more. So kind of sorta, but like back then I think like if people saw what the top of the top CrossFit females look like today, if they saw that 10 years ago, they'd be like, what the fuck? But like
Mhm.
now that's so normal that I just think it's just will continue to adapt, you know?
And like specifically speaking to, we're around the holiday time, you work with lifestyle. Is that what specific type of people, like what bucket do you fall into with the nutrition that you do?
I have a
Or
lot
is
of
it
like
everywhere?
yeah, I was gonna say I have a lot of lifestyle, but I also do have some performance. I have some people who don't actually track macros, but they're like working on healthy habits and like body image issues and things like that. So it just kind of depends on like what they're looking for. I would say I enjoy coaching lifestyle because I just feel like you don't sometimes people think you have to be like, this big performance based athlete or have something to work towards. And that's not always the case. Like you can still prioritize that stuff while being a lifestyle client, and I enjoy it just as much.
Is there a specific theme that continuously comes up every year, like specifically around the holidays that you you try to talk to your clients about and you try to get through to them, but every year it seems like almost a lose-lose battle?
Um, yeah, with them quitting, I just feel in general, like around the holidays, like the company as a whole loses a lot of clientele in the month of November and December. So I just think that people often like when it gets to the holidays, they're like, oh, whatever, I don't want to do it because I have all these holiday things. And so I think that then they always think like, oh, I'm going to start back up in January. I'm going to do January 1st. And I always tell them like it's so much better to have a base for at least 2 months, even if it's not perfect, instead of trying to start all over from square one on January 1st. But that's something that I don't think has ever changed in the last 10 years, honestly.
It's something that will just keep beating the drum until the end of time, it seems. And especially like as people, and I know my mom and my aunts, they come from that generation where
Oh, yeah.
the smaller they can get, the better. And okay, we ate all of the cake. So now today we're going to eat absolutely nothing. And like, I even remember, sorry to put my sister on blast. I don't think she watches this anyways, but I remember before her wedding, she was like, I want to weigh 115 pounds. And I look at her, I'm like, that's a very specific number. And I don't think that that's a healthy weight for you. Where'd that come from? Oh, well, that's how much mom weighed on her wedding day. And I just thought, huh, what a strange concept. But uh, I don't know if it's finally starting to phase out from that mindset that like the deeper into other generations we get, or if those are things that you still deal with clients.
Yes, the older generations, I think in general, just really struggle with that mentality, and it gets passed down generation to generation, honestly. So it sucks because even my mom to this day, like she will tell me that intermittent fasting is what made her
Mhm.
lose weight. And I'm just like, okay, it's the same thing as cutting out calories. I've told her this every year. Every year she has this conversation with me. And I'm at this point, I'm just like, okay. Like they just have that, they did Slim Fast and Jenny Craig and
Oh
like
yeah.
all those. So it's really hard for them to unlearn all of that, honestly.
Mhm. Switching gears, we're going to go back to talking about California because you said that your two dogs obviously are coming with you, but there's someone else that's coming with you.
Yep, yep. And I'm very I'm very like nervous to talk about it. Just because like, yeah, I think that my life has taken two really, really big drastic changes over the last like 5 years. And first, like coming out was a huge one for me because I really was like, for people that don't know, I was married to a man before and should not have been. Just gonna put that out there. I should not have been. But I was like heavily dealing with internalized, like just knowing or not, I was just say not knowing, not knowing really like my sexuality and what I wanted. And I was definitely, I feel, like compulsive heteronormality life and like what you should do and feeling like, oh, this is what I should do, what everyone thinks is best for me, and so on and so forth. And I really tried hard to like fake that life. And I learned so much from that because like that really wasn't true to myself. And so after I got divorced, I went into another relationship like 5 or 6 months later. And I thought that was it for me. I was like, oh my God, thank God, like I'm done, this and that. And some unfortunate like things had happened over like of I would say like not a very long time, but kind of long time. And it got to a point where like I had to ask myself, like, am I about to do this again and like settle for something that is maybe not fully right for me? And I didn't and left that situation. And I was like, that's it. I'm not fucking dating anyone. Like, I am done. I'm not doing this shit again. And my friend who, from the boxing gym, of course. We've been friends since she joined the gym when I was coaching there, and she'd been my friend the whole time. And it was one of those things where it just like progressed past friends. And I was very like, no, I don't like,
Stay away.
literally so hesitant. And especially just because like I am somebody who like in general doesn't like to be single. Like I know this about myself. I'm not like a date around kind of person. I'm not like go on the apps or go on dates. Like it's not my thing.
Apps
And
suck anyways. You don't want to be there.
I've heard. So,
Terrible.
so when it kind of progressed past that, I was like, okay, I want to take this slow because I was like super nervous about making the same mistake again. And when it came time for this upcoming move, like she is from California and she is a paramedic and wants to go into like search and rescue firefighting, which is like they have a lot, obviously, more out in California than they do here. And so her thing was to always go back to California. And I, wasn't a part of that until recently. And so for me, I was like, okay, I have this option to like pick the thing that's more scary and go with something that like I don't really know what the outcome will be. Or, I choose the safe option, and the safe option for me has let me down twice. So I'm like at this point where I feel like I'm ready to just be like, okay, fuck the safe option. I'm just gonna go for what might not be. And yeah, so that's how I ended up getting put with her going back to California, because that's where she's from. So yeah.
How long have you and Lainey been officially dating?
Just a couple of months. Yeah. So it's a lesbian U-Haul for sure. Yeah.
I hope it's all decked out.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be. It's gonna be from this house for sure. Yeah.
And I'm gonna link this into the description, but the blog that you posted, it would have been 2 years ago, October. It was National Coming Out Day, and that's when you really opened up about your transition and kind of and what you went through with the divorce and kind of realizing that you weren't being true to your own feelings and self. And you spoke about therapy and how it was like this telling moment that you just knew that it wasn't the life you wanted to carry on with. Leading up to that, was it just a bunch of compounding things that kind of kept steering you in this direction? And like I'm trying to put myself in your shoes and imagine, how do you get that far down one path and then have the courage to make a change that's really best for you?
One of the things that he and other people had said to me was that straight people don't constantly ask themselves if they're straight. And I was like, Okay, because this is something that like I mean, when I was like 16 or 17, I had dated girls before. I had had that
Mhm.
experience, and I just considered myself bi, queer, whatever you want to call it. And I just never really like thought that I was like one way or the other. So at the time, I didn't think that it was super important. And then once I committed to that lifestyle, like heterosexual being in that area, yes, there were a lot of things. We talked a bit about it in the Divorce Diaries video. It was with Jen that I did that video with,
Oh,
from
that's so great.
Yeah, I love her so
I
much.
love her. I love her so much. She is a ray of sunshine. Anytime I see her, I'm like, "Oh, you're just amazing."
She is truly, truly the best. So we did that video. We talked about it because I felt like I did not know really, I didn't have as strong of a stance back then as I do now on certain things. And so, like, when I lived in that area, which was a very heavily conservative, religious, homophobic, transphobic place, to me, I was just like, oh my God, this is not where I belong. And I didn't know that going into it, obviously. Like, you learn those things as time goes on. And I would say COVID was really the breaking point for me. And I realized, like, I cannot be here. I cannot be here. I cannot do this from a sexuality standpoint, but also just like morally. Like, I am not a religious person. I was so far on the opposite side of the political party from them, so it was really
Mhm.
hard for me. And I knew that, like, if I was going to stay there, I wouldn't be who I was. Like, I would be a completely shut down version of myself, which was already happening because they were not accepting of certain things. And so, like, I just knew that if I wanted to really be like what I felt, then I couldn't do it there. And I have a lot of regret about the situation because I should have spoken up about it sooner. But to be honest, like, I just didn't want to fail and I didn't want to look embarrassed. So that's why I did the things I did. But ultimately, I was like, okay, I have to get out of this situation, because if I don't, like, I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life. So I just think if people are in that situation, like, people that are happy, it goes the same way, right? Like, if you're in a happy relationship, you don't sit there and think like, should I break up with my partner? Should I get divorced? Should you, like, if you, that doesn't happen. So, like, if you're asking yourself these questions, you probably already know the answer. And like, that was for me. I was like, oh, duh. Like, I'm like Googling, am I lesbian? Like, nobody does that for sure. You know what I mean? Like, I was just, hello, duh.
You just really wanted to be sure.
Well, yeah, I did, and I was like, "Okay, like, I can make it work, like, I could do this, I could do that," and I'm a very, like, I really wanted to exhaust all efforts before I made that.
Well,
So, yeah.
and I don't think that you can really have embarrassment or shame over that, because there's so many people that unfortunately live their entire lives just trying to please people, regardless of sexual orientation. With anything they're doing, they try to live this cookie cutter life because they think that that is what's going to, whether maybe make them happy, or it's going to make the people around them happy. So the fact that you did get out of a situation that wasn't true to yourself, and now you are living to what looks like your most authentic self, I think is really inspiring to a lot of people to know there is a way out. There is a way that you can do what feels right.
Yeah, and I think another thing too, which is like what I fell victim to, was after when I was out of that situation, my biggest, I think, mistake that I made was going to complete safety and what I could control. And ultimately, like, and I don't want to say like it was bad, but definitely wasn't the right choice for me, because it was just like I was getting out of that situation, and I was, exploring this openly coming out version of me. And I was with someone who was, I would say, very, very safe at the time. But there were like underlying things, again, similarly to being in that marriage, there were underlying things that were a problem that I was like, I can make it work. I can do this. I can do that. And I was still like not being 100% true to myself, because I was like, oh, well, I can do this and I can do that. And at the end of the day, like, that's just, at least in my opinion, that's never going to like make you your best self, because like you're compromising certain parts of what you believe in, or like how you feel about certain things, for somebody else. And so, like, even though you could technically make it work, right? Like, I could have been married to a man and be like deeply unhappy. I could have been with my partner before and had like some underlying issues that like I wasn't really okay with, but like could have been fine, and safe. But at the end of the day, like, is that really what you want for the rest of your life? And if I have to like fuck it up 2 or 3 times to figure it out, I'm fine with that. People talk shit about me all the time for that. And like, my thought is, okay, what would you rather me done? Just like stayed married and be miserable for the rest of my life? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
And another thing too is that like you can think that you have it figured out, and then people don't understand like certain things can happen to where it changes that for you. What if you discover something that you didn't know before? That you can change your mind. Like, that's the biggest thing I think people need. Like, I would love to put out for this interview is that you can change your mind. Cause like
Yeah.
people give me shit all the time for that. And I'm like, okay, but certain things happen and I changed my mind. And guess what? That's okay. Like, it's fine.
But to me, that tells me that you're more open-minded and you're able to critical think because if you get new information, new evidence, whatever you wanna call it, "Oh, well, maybe I'm not thinking the same way that I used to. My mind has changed," and you own up to it. And that's why I will continue to say you're one of the most authentic people because just because you changed your mind, that makes you more authentic because you're growing into the person you wanna be.
Yeah, I think 100% I agree with you. Not about like myself being great, but just like changing your mind in general.
You
I
are
think
great.
like, yeah, thanks. Um, yes, I do think that that's a huge thing for people because like if I never changed my mind, I would still be in Florida, surrounded by people that I didn't really agree with, very unhappy, working a job I didn't really like. And so even though like I've kind of, changed paths a million times, it's only because I was really trying to figure out what was right for me. And I'll say in my current relationship right now, even though it's still new, one of the things that I have really appreciated is that I think she really, really takes me out of my like comfort safety bubble without trying to change who I am. And that's a big thing for me because like I'm so used to being in control all the time and I'm so used to being the person that does everything and that controls everything. And so to have somebody who is very much so like me in that way of like a planner and organizer, but like she's going to take care of it, I think is huge for me because it allows me to like actually just enjoy certain things that I wouldn't have been able to before. And it's kind of taught me that like I enjoy that dynamic in a relationship. Like I've always been the person that takes care of everyone. Every single partner I've ever had, I've been like the doer, the giver, the 100% all the time. Like there's never anyone that like takes care of me. Not that I need it, but like I've learned that dynamic of having someone that can take care of you is huge for me. Like it's just a different type of mutually respectful relationship that I have not experienced before. So I think that like yes, other things could have worked and could have been fine and safe, but for me personally, not having to cater to someone, take care of them, be the provider, the giver 24/7 has changed my life like drastically.
So who made the first move?
It was pretty like mutually like I would say together maybe like it was kind of like we had been friends and I think that's a huge thing for our relationship is that we were friends for such an extended period of time without any type of like, oh, I'm trying to date you, you're trying to date me. We were just friends and that was it. And like that dynamic I think allowed us to see the other person for who they really are without like trying to date them. And then we ended up going through breakups kind of at the same time, and we talked to each other about them and we were there for each other during that process. And so I think like that entire thing just kind of like shifted it in that direction, I would say. So I would say it was kind of equal.
If you could pick one thing that you love most about her, what would it be?
I think it's she is somebody who like is a true like ride or die, like she will fight for you. Like if something goes wrong, and I think that's actually one of the things that I just enjoyed about her as a friend in the very beginning is that like if I was afraid of something or I didn't know something or like I like one time I like split my finger open on a metal straw. I'll never forget this. And I was talking to
How does
her
that happen?
it's just the dumbest shit ever. And I literally was like, "Oh my god, do I need stitches?" And so like she had been getting off work. It was like really early in the morning, and I called her and I was like, I really hurt my finger." And she was like, "Where are you?" Like immediate, like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm here and here." She's
Oh,
like, "Okay, come here." And so like I went and I like went in the back of the ambulance and she like fixed my finger and like this whole. And I just remember like at that point, like we were just friends. And I remember like thinking immediately at the time, like, "Oh, I just went to her initially, because I was like, if I don't know something, like I want to go to the person that can figure it out with me, for me, help me, whatever. And so like having that like person that has your back, I think is just like I just really, really never experienced that before because that's normally me. So I think that's probably my favorite thing.
She gives you a sense of security and comfort.
Yeah, yeah. Like if I somebody, oh my God, she said something the other day and it was like, you want to be able to know that the person you're with could handle whatever it is that you're doing if you weren't there. Like you don't have to ask them like for, clarity, whatever. Like if I was like, oh, Lainey needs to do XYZ and this is her decision, like I would feel totally fine with her doing it. And like that is 100% true. And I know that she feels the same way because we do have that very like strong type A getting things done personality, which we thought would be clashing at first because we're so much like, no, I'm going to do this. And she's like, no, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it already. Like, stop doing it, because we just want to do it all. But I think that it actually works in our favor because like it allows us to do things without like feeling like we're taking care of the other person. It's more of like a mutual effort, I would say, like really truly 50-50. So it's nice.
What is the plan for driving cross country together? Do you guys have like little pit stops you're going to make along the way that are bucket list places to see, or what does that look like?
Not so much of a bucket place, unfortunately, because which I'm sure you know this, Bentley just recently was diagnosed with epilepsy, and that's been really, really stressful. And I am very worried about driving with such long distance with him in the car, specifically because he is 100 pounds. He's a big boy, so seizures are like very hard on him, and they're a lot. So not necessarily bucket places, but stops along the way. Yes, Airbnbs along the way, just like I did when Aaron and I did the trip last year as my best friend. We did the same thing and it was really so much fun, even though they weren't like cool places, just like the experience was fun. So we're going to do the same thing.
Oh, well, that'll be fun, and you'll still get to see so much just looking out the window, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing too is, like, I would say she really gets me to do things outside of what I would normally do, because if it were up to me, I would literally never leave my house, like, legitimately never. I don't travel, I don't do it, like, I truly could be fine never leaving. And so I think that, like, being with someone in the past who was exactly like that, there was not a lot of room for growth in that area. It was more where one-sided, and, like, in this situation, I feel being pushed out of my comfort zone is a positive, and not like she's forcing me to do something I don't want to do, but just like allowing me to explore things that I wouldn't have ever.
Well, I think it's so interesting because you once or maybe a couple of times have mentioned that you're an extroverted introvert.
Mhm.
Like, for people who like aren't in your immediate circle, they probably think that you're 100% extroverted because,
Yeah.
yeah, you're a content creator, you work with clients, you make videos, all of that stuff
Mhm.
that would speak to an extrovert, but you also like comfort and being cozy and being home and doing your cleaning routine.
Oh, I love a routine. I love a routine. I love a structured schedule. I love the same thing every day. So, like, yes, I would say people think that I'm very like outgoing and want to go out and do all these things, and I'm like, that's like a no for me. I would not like to do that. So, like, it was one of those things where, like, she wanted me to see this part of California where she was from, and I was like, I can't do a flight like that. Like, it's too long
Mm.
because I get really bad motion sickness. And immediately she's like, okay, it's fine. We'll go from here to Denver, and then we'll stay the night in Denver, and then we'll do the next day we'll do Denver to San Francisco, and then on the way back we'll do San Francisco to Austin, and so like, you know what I'm saying?
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she did it. She creates like a notes app where she like puts all these things, then she syncs me with it, and I'm like, okay, I just show up. That's great. Love that.
But what a breath of fresh air to have a partner and a support system that knows your little quirks and how you operate, that they truly can take care of you in that way. Have you ever had that with anybody in your life before?
No, no, this is the first time. Yeah. So it's a huge change for me because like in the past it would be like, okay, well then we're not going, period. Like that's it, you know? Or I would have to plan every single thing and do every single thing myself. And I don't have to do that in this situation. And it's so different.
Wow. I think that is really saying something that for anybody watching who might be single and looking for your person, look for your laney. Look for somebody who's going to offer comfort and support.
And like as a friend though, like true, I have also
Yeah.
never, ever, ever like been like, I would say like in person, like really, really close with someone for an extended period of time before like dating them for real, I would say. Like kind of sort of before, but not really to this extent. There was always like some like, oh, we're kind of friends, not really. But like this one, like truly, truly, like she was just my friend. And so like I think that makes a massive difference in like the dynamic that you have.
So you'll spend Christmas in your home now.
Empty. Yeah.
Are you gonna have to leave a couple dishes out or order takeout, or what is the plan?
Yeah, we did Mexican on true Thanksgiving because we traveled on Thanksgiving Day, so we ordered Mexican, which was fun. So we'll probably do something like that for Christmas too. She wants to make a beef Wellington. I don't know. I should, but that's what she
Oh, yes, you
so.
have to do that. My family did that like 2 or 3 Christmases ago. It's a little more complicated than what I can do, but my dad, he crushed it, so God bless him, but worth it, worth
That's
it.
yeah, that's what she's the chef Boyardee over there. So she wants to do that. And I'm like, pop off, sis. That's all you. I don't know about a beef Wellington. So
I'd be like, "Okay, I got the mashed potatoes.
so
We're good
literally,
over
I'm like,
there."
I'll do the sides. Fine.
Yeah. So celebrate Christmas with a couple things at home and then go to your new home and it'll be the new year. What else do you have planned for 2025? Where can people expect to see you? What's coming up?
I would love to do the SoCal Wadapalooza next year because I'll be there. So
Mm.
I think that would be really fun. But other than that, I don't really know till I get there. So like TBD, not really sure.
Well, Manders, it was so great to catch up with you and get to know you more on a personal level. I will link your Instagram, YouTube, where people can find you and follow you and enjoy your authentic journey in your life because I know you've inspired me and I hope you can inspire more people.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.